You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And yes, it is. It is showtime. And welcome to another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee. And it looks like the camera is not going to be stationary tonight here. So we're going to have to try to work with it a little bit here. That's a little bit better. Okay, there we go. We got a weird show. And I'm going to say weird because we're going to be talking about some things that may be cancel worthy if things go a certain way here. However, we are live, we're here, and we got to do our normal pieces of business before we get into our main topic for the evening, which is predictions for 2025 when it deals with the comic book industry as a whole here and other controversial thoughts that goes along with it here. A lot of it is not going to be on the negative side of things, but is worthwhile talking about here. But nevertheless, before we get into it here, we do have our normal things that we got to say here, such as Stupid O'Clock happening right now. Actually, I should say happening right now because it hasn't even started yet because it's not even 10 o'clock. Well, actually, it's 10 o'clock. It's not even 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time as of yet. But 11 o'clock Eastern, Stupid O'Clock happens 1 hour into the show. We may not go the full second hour here. We may end up with 1 hour, depends on how succinct my points come out on tonight here. That is also that Stupid O'Clock is always followed up by Last Man Standing, which happens at about 1 a.m. Eastern, which gives you a little bit of a respite until Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you have Nicholas Tucker and Nevermind the Furthermore. And let us not forget about Comic Book Spectrum, which will be resuming back on January 9th, right here on this channel at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time here. And without further ado, give me one more quick moment here because I am going to do this rather live here. We got a live new comic book pickups for the week. It's a small stack of books that we got to cover, but nevertheless, we are about to take care of that right here, right now. I just have to get the books in front of me before we could talk about them and then get into our topic for the night here. Let me go ahead and get things going here. Hopefully everybody had a decent Christmas here. I know I can't say the same here, but it was a good day off nonetheless, one way or the other. So let's go ahead and do the new comic book pickups for the week. And this is what we got here. So first book that we got Storm number 2 from this is from the recent series, Storm number 2, for the most recent series of Storm. I almost forgot which volume it was, so I'm not going to say volume number, but I know it's the most recent one. We got Jessica Jones Blind Spot number 2, issue number 3 from Jessica Jones Blind Spot, and issue number 6. of Jessica Jones Blind Spot here. I do have another full set of Jessica Jones Blind Spot coming in the mail. So at least I have that full run of Jessica Jones. And I think that completes everything for Jessica Jones related stuff from Alias to the 6-issue Blind Spot series, which is good. And now I officially have the full run of Birds of Prey from Volume 4, at least according to CLZ. We have the original A cover from the black labeled version of Birds of Prey. That's the A cover, and we got the official J. Scott Campbell one. So that's both of the covers for the so-called Volume 4 of Birds of Prey. So we got that taken care of now. One less series to worry about. And I got a decent copy of Red Sonja #1. I believe this is from like Volume 2 of Red Sonja. So now I have that completed as a whole. So now I think I have most of Volume 1, all of Volume 2, all of Volume 3, and odds and ends for like the Dynamite ones. I know I have some complete runs from the Dynamite series, the earlier Dynamite series, by the way, not the most recent ones. But, you know, there's a lot that goes into it. We got Marvel Team Up #1 with Spider-Man and Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. And then we got some Magnificent Miss Marvels here. We got about a few issues of that here. We got issue #2. And we got issue 14, 15, 16, and 18. And that is followed up by Dark Web, Miss Marvel #1. And then I got a couple issues from the miniseries of Miss Marvel Beyond the Limit. I think I'm only missing an issue 1 and 2. No, I think it's an issue 1 of Beyond the Limit that I'm missing here. But I almost have this short-lived miniseries. I believe it was a 4-issue miniseries, but there's the A cover for issue #3, and then there's the variant. And then I believe that this is the original A cover for issue 4. And then, just to pad out my Brian Michael Bendis run of Spider-Woman here, because I wasn't certain if I had the full run or not. I know I had another issue 3. Issue 4 was the one. Issue 4, or issue 6 was the one I believe I didn't have. But there, issue 3, there's issue 4. You're trying to get the glare out because the lighting is that way. There's issue 6, and there's the last issue, issue 7. So I now know I have at least one full set of that Brian Michael Bendis run. And then with the Origin series, I have another copy of issue 1 and a issue 5 from that Origin series for Spider-Woman. I guess it was a expanded way of telling the story here. And we got some comments coming in here. Yep, there she is. There's Parallax Spectre is in the house here. And we're going to get into some actual discussion here on a lot of things that might get me canceled later on tonight. I don't know. Oh, that book is out of its volumes section here. From volume 1 of Spider-Woman, we got issue 35 now and issue 46. So slowly but surely, I am going to get that volume completed here. And then we got Gang War, Spider-Woman Gang War #1. I'm not familiar with that miniseries or short series, but it was something that was interesting in the long run. And then I actually broke down and started to think about getting volume 2, which is the non-Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. So from volume 2, we got issue #2 and issue 8. So I got those two here. And I think this is from volume 5. So from volume 5, I got issue #3 and issue #10, which is Civil War II tie-in. And then from here, from from volume 6, I believe. It is issue number 6, which I know I have, and issue number 9, I believe I also have, but those might be extras. And then now, since I think I got them in order now, for the most recent run of Spider-Man, we got another die cut number 1, the Chip Kit design cover. So we got one of those here, issue number 5, issue number 8, and issue number 11, with her going back to the classic costume here. So we got all of those in the mail here, with more books coming in the new. She said, Chunky Spider Woman, Beady. Chunky. Which one you talking about? You talking about what, volume 6 Spider Woman? Yeah, she was a bit chunky in volume 6. I think volume 7. I think volume 7 is where she lost a lot of baby weight, if I'm correct, but I'm not 100% certain. But that is all the comic book pickups for that came around this week here, the week of Christmas and everything. So that's one of the reasons why it was just only a small box. We got more coming in over the New Year's week here. So hopefully we'll have some more new books to talk about on that week here. And to be quite honest, coming into 2025, I'm going to be focusing on filling in gaps in particular titles that I want to maintain a collection on, as opposed to just buying up everything that people find quote unquote popular and everything. So that's the game plan for purchasing books over 2025. So it's going to be a lot less buying on my part, probably a lot more creating in the bigger scheme of things here. Take a quick little swig of that before we get into our topic for tonight, which is predictions and controversial thoughts here. Let me first preference everything, and let me see if I do have the banner already. There we go. We're going to have that run across the very bottom of the screen. That the opinions about to be expressed is not of the company and nor of anything, any other affiliation. It's just views expressed. The show does not reflect the opinions or views of the CGC Studios or nor any of its affiliates here. So predictions for 2025, and I know some of you guys are not going to like what I got to say here. What I predict in 2025 when it comes to the comic book industry, especially when it comes to the collecting side of everything here. Unlike everybody else that predicts doom and gloom for collecting, I see things this way coming in 2025. The first thing is that there is going to be a major drop in modern books when it comes to grading. Grading modern books for quick flip, your value is going to drop dramatically. People are not going to go for the graded books anymore. And I'm not saying people are not going to buy graded books. I'm saying modern. And I'm focusing on modern books mainly because of the whole attitude of the get quick rich or fast flip schemes that has been happening as of late. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that older books are going to be affected by it, because I see that flourishing over 2025 here. But the books that are going to take the biggest hits are the ones that's in the modern era. And the reason why I say it that way is because there's too many copies still floating around raw. Plus, some of these books have not been around long enough to warrant some of the prices that are being given for graded books. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's like for right now, it's not. If you plan to get stuff graded for your own personal reason, or for what I would normally do it for, which is for preservation, so be it. But if you're collecting as an investor, I would warn you right here, right now, don't invest in getting modern books graded if you're planning to flip. You're not going to get a good return on your investment, and I guarantee you that you will lose money in it. And the money that you will lose in it, 9 times out of 10, is going to be the grading cost plus some of the value of the book. If you do not hit that bubble right then and right there off of the speculation, you can forget about it. You can forget about it. It is not going to be worth your while. It is going to be a waste of your money. And you might as well be prepared to sit on these books for quite some time until the demand comes back up. The second thing that is not going to be a popular opinion when it comes to 2025 and comic book collecting, there's going to be also a major change in, if I could say it in this aspect, as far as speculation. I see books stop being speculated based upon TV and other media outlets. That type of speculation will be minimized because, one, the TV side of things does not bring readers to the comics like most people think. It is more of a marketing ploy for collectors, that have been established in the collecting sphere to pay more money for books that would just rarely be available at a normal rate here. So selling a book off of the advantage of it has been optioned, or TV series is coming within the next year, you want to see less and less of that being a focal point of speculation now. Reason being is that it is not a guaranteed method of selling the books here, which means that it is going to be something unique here, where it's going to be something that is more guaranteed than anything outside of that. The third thing, and I know a lot of you probably going to really disagree with me with this one here. So this is item number 3. There is going to be another major movement in independent, I shouldn't say independent, but non-commercialized comics. And when I say non-commercialized comics, I'm talking about there's going to be a shifting where bigger publishers' books are not going to be looked at in the same light as newer stuff that's being printed up by creators and smaller organizations. Reason being is that there are newer stuff that is coming out now by these smaller entities, which seems more interesting than what is being produced by the bigger publishers. Now, you have to take this into consideration. Bigger publishers like Marvel and DC normally publish based upon IPs and trademarks. So you're going to definitely keep having your Supermans, your Batmans, your Wonder Womans, your Teen Titans, and your Spider-Mans, and your Incredible Hulks, and the Fantastic Four. Those books are still going to be published because of those trademarks and the licensing for those entities. But if you're looking for something brand new and something that is out of the box, unique, they're not going to do it. And to be quite honest, I don't see Image doing that anytime soon either. I don't see a lot of these bigger publishers doing that anytime soon, because at this point in the game, they're looking at maintaining what they have. you're going to have to go to the smaller publishers or the independent created books to get something brand new and something interesting here. And it's going to be enough. It's that renaissance of as some people call it, the independent book. It's going to move forward because of that. That's going to happen in 2025. Mark my words on that one. You're going to see more and more people flocking to books that have never been heard of, or books that are from their favorite creators that is not being published by a major publication here. The third thing, no, that's actually the fourth thing. We're on item number 4. And again, this might also cause some controversy as well. Item 4. I would advise those who are doing creative owned properties to be leery of crowdfunding platforms. The reason being is that we all know that there's room at the table for everybody. However, since there has been more of an uptick with major publishers bringing back older IPs through crowdfunding, you're going to be competing for an audience. You're going to be competing for eyes. You're going to be competing for eyes on established properties. People are going to have that nostalgia factor now for these older properties. And as more and more of these, as more and more of these properties come out, you're going to have more and more problems getting people's and keeping and getting people's attention here. So my absolute advice here is that if you are going to crowdfund, make certain, and I do mean this 100%, make certain that you already have that built-in audience that can get you across your goal right then and there. Don't be going out there looking for brand new people right away. Set up your mailing list, do live streams, do whatever you need to do to get the word out, to build up that audience before that project starts funding on a crowdfunding campaign. Because if you don't, it's a good possibility that you might not get enough eyes on it because of the simple fact that it will be overcrowded. That's just me looking into what I'm seeing coming down the line in 2025 here. We got some more comments here. It's like, yeah, Indiegogo is in trouble. Well, Indiegogo is in trouble with a lot more stuff than anything else here. Now, we already know about the shadow banning on Indiegogo and all the other stuff here. And the fact that Indiegogo does not require you to have what is called a working prototype or something that can be established to say that something is being worked on, where other like with Kickstarter, you have to have something that's tangible before you could crowdfund. And then with them shadow banning comics as a whole, because a lot of the projects that's there on Indiegogo not being fulfilled is another issue in the bigger standpoint too. So there's a lot of stuff with that platform that's happening. There's a lot of stuff with Kickstarter that has happened. And to be quite honest, I still haven't received some stuff from Kickstarter campaigns as of yet. And one is from a bigger publisher. So that's, the writing's on the wall. It's like, I'm not against crowdfunded books. But the thing about it is, when it comes to that business aspect and that business acumen, if a person fills out that survey to have their stuff sent to them and everything, make certain that they get it. Follow up, do something. Because, I did what I did. It's like I backed the Darkwing Duck campaign from Dynamite. That still hasn't arrived. I backed the AXA books and I reached out to the people, as that still hasn't arrived. These are people that I know of that, I have some inside track on, and I'm looking at this. It's like, you're doing this to me now. 2025, if you come out with another project, I'll be least hesitant to back you again, because it's not, for me, it's not about take my money and run. I want the actual project. And since I know that the project is out there and that you're fulfilling through distributors, now up here it's like, but where's my stuff? I haven't received mine. What's going on? Keep me in the loop. I might be the odd man out, but still make me feel like my investment is worthwhile. If not, then why do it? I might as well wait. If as far as I'm concerned, it's like, if you're going to distribute through some type of distributor like Diamond or Penguin or Luna, I might as well wait. And that's the other thing that I'm seeing with major publishers being on these crowdfunding campaigns. Eventually, those books are really not for creating the brand new book. It's more or less proving that there's marketability. And once that first batch gets done and everything, they will have more than enough money to have books ready to go to a distributor. So again, I might as well wait. If you're going to come out with it, you're going to come out with it. But again, that's the reason why I feel that crowdfunding platforms are going to muddy the market even more so from smaller guys like myself here. But that's just me. And Parallax is in agreement with Victoria here. And Beanie and Lil said, yeah, with their hands on their chair. Yep. And there's Don Milo. Good evening, Don. And it's like, yeah, really, thank goodness I didn't do Darkwing. Yeah. And it's kind of sad because I'm still waiting for the book. It doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't sent it, but from my understanding of how everything was sent in the surveys and all the other stuff, I could have got lost in the shuffle. And things happen. But I'm more along the lines, after seeing that those books have gone through Diamond and I still haven't got mine, it makes me leery. It makes me very leery. Yeah, it just makes me even more cautious. Now, mind you, as a creator myself, I was never a big fan of crowdfunding in the first place, because I'm a big if I could say, what's the right word for this? I believe that you should put skin in the game to create your book, which means that I would not come out and ask for money to build a comic book or any issue of a comic without having everything scripted, ready to go, and this, that, and the other, having already started a process to have artists and stuff working on it. I would never put that type of expense on the reader. The only thing that I would ask for is money to get the stuff printed. Because if you help with getting the book printed, you're guaranteed your copy. Pretty much simple as that, But a lot of this stuff, I it's just the ask nowadays. It's like, oh, I gotta get all these big name artists and this, that, and the other, but it's an established entity. The smaller guys do not have that. And then for some of the smaller guys to come back, it's like, well, I don't have any money to hire an artist. And up here is like, well, if you don't have money to hire an artist or hire a writer or hire whoever you need to do this, then what work do you have done already? You just can't go out there with a wing and a prayer and something jotted down on a napkin and be like, here's my idea and this is what we want to do, because he's like, you do like your Kickstarter video and all this other stuff and it could fall flat. You want something that is tangible going in. And then on top of that, you want to build the hype for it going in. And to be quite honest, the crowdfunding audience is way different than those that go to comic book shows, the ones that look at posts on Facebook and all these other social media platforms, and even the people that comes out to YouTube to watch this type of show. All those audiences are different. You have to have that built-in buying audience that it will feel comfortable going out to a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo or a GoFundMe or whatever platform that you use. Now, one of the things that I have, if I could say, good feelings about when it comes to funding in that aspect here, I like how more and more creators are building their own websites to build that company up and having that, fund this book page. And they will have that page and they show what the book is about and all this other stuff. And they do it internally within the company. That way they don't pay any percentages to the platforms and everything for generating extra eyes and all this other stuff, which 9 times out of 10, it is what it is. And to think, there are better platforms, crowdfunding platforms out there, like Fund My Comic is a great example of a good platform for independent creators to fund their books. But at the same time, there's still percentages and stuff that you still pay them to have eyes on your book. And it's not guaranteed that your book would fund, because it really depends on the audience that you have. And people that's in your current buying audience may not feel comfortable going to fundmycomic.com. That stuff happens. Same thing with Kickstarter, same thing with Indiegogo. And that was kind of like one of the things that I learned over the years. And, being a part of all these different groups that dealt with crowdfunding, it's kind of a harsh reality that some people don't really pay attention to. Is that, yeah, you might have a successful book and people buy it, but where do they buy it at? If everybody's on Kickstarter waiting for your next issue, so be it. Keep doing it. If you're picking up new people on that platform, keep doing it. But for a person like myself, I wasn't picking up anybody new. And then a lot of times when I did the crowdfunding campaign over there, a lot of people were coming to shows that are that picking up their Kickstarter, rewards directly from me at shows. And that tells me that it's like, am I really doing well on Kickstarter like I think I am? And to be quite honest, I lean to the no aspect of it. That no, I'm not. But we're getting away a little bit. We're going a little bit on a tangent here. But I wanted people to be weary of that the crowdfunding platforms are going to get very, very crowded. And you might get lost in the shuffle because of it. Especially since the bigger publishers are now going there. And I'm not saying that having the bigger publishers there is a problem. No, that's not what I'm getting at. But because they have a lot more intellectual properties and nostalgia factor for some of the books that they're producing, trying to get the money to produce, you might get lost in the shuffle because of that, because people are going to spend money on the most nostalgic thing that they have as opposed to something that is brand new and untested. And it's like, if somebody goes out there to Kickstarter and sees something for, let's say, rehashing of, let's say, Ghostly Tales, just pulling a title randomly, a smaller publisher has now got the licensing rights for Ghostly Tales. Those fans of Ghostly Tales are going to go out there and buy the new. Better example, Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal just now going out to Kickstarter to relaunch their magazine series. Fans of Heavy Metal are going to go out there to Kickstarter, back the project, but it's not guaranteed that those Heavy Metal fans will look at your, if I could say, sci-fi, steampunk, your space operatic stories as a result. It may get eyes onto your project, but there's no guarantee that there will be backers as a result of it. That's the reason why I said it may become overcrowded and oversaturated in that aspect here. So I expect that to happen in. Okay, yes, you said about the Darkwing. Okay, that's the reason why I said that is one of the things that I expect in 2025. Point number 5. I still see a bigger decline in modern books in 2025. The reason I'm saying that here, as far as comics is concerned, is that, one, the younger generation is not digging what is being told in comics, or I should say being told in American comics today. Why is that? One, I believe it could be format issue, that we're in a generation that has been growing up seeing more manga and anime influence type stuff, and for them to go from that to American comics, it throws them off. But what I truly believe is the issue here is the storytelling. We get a lot of books that have very, very bad storytelling. And the storytelling is of such for an older generation, not for theirs. The characters are not relatable. The timelines, the culture behind it does not speak to them. And because of that, we're not getting younger eyes on the books that a lot of people just love to death here. They might come around and be like, "Oh, I'm a Batman fan. I like Batman," and they pick up a new cop issue of Batman. But it does not make them get them into that whole mode of being a rabid collector. They was like, "Oh, that's a cool, that's a cool cover." That's a problem, because they're not it's like if they're not reading the stories and wanting to keep getting into the stories, that's a problem. This, and also, like I said, because of the format too, they're used to paying anywhere between $9 to $15 to get a thick volume of manga story, where it's like 100 plus pages of actual story, as opposed to paying $4.99, $5.99 for barely 12 pages. That's another problem. There's a lot of things that needs to be changed when it comes to the bigger publishers and the way that stories are being told here. To me, there's more of a focus on the marketing aspect of the art itself, and focusing on particular characters that sells the book a little bit better. But we have not had that big, great storyline that transcends media in a long time. And I do mean a long time. I mean, and when I say, transcends media, I'm talking about hitting the airwaves of like news outlets to say, hey, this is coming down the pike, and everybody's talking real big, or it's a big controversy behind X, Y, and Z here. You might get like one or two issues sprinkled here and there, but we haven't had the death of Superman hitting the airways, and that's been we're talking decades. There was not really too much talk about Civil War. There has been recent talk about Carol Danvers and a lot of the books and how she was, recategorized and all this other stuff here. All that stuff, still we're getting to now. That news is at least a decade old. But there's nothing new coming down the road where your regular local news outlet is picking up on it to say, hey, kids are coming into comic book stores to pick up the latest issue of Spider-Man because of Spider-Boy. There's nothing like that nowadays. And maybe there needs to be if I could say, a revisiting to that type of standard of writing great stories that gets people interested and hyped up to revisit. We don't have that in the modern age. And I believe we lost a lot of that, mainly because of people wanting to use this platform for American comics to catapult them into storyboarding or to television, as opposed to writing for the medium that is comics. And I'm sitting up here and it's like, and for those who know, I'm still reading Satellite Sam. And I use Satellite Sam as an example of how Matt Fraction really wrote this more as if I could say it in this aspect, more as a storyboarding project for something that could be sold later on down the line for television. Because that book is really filled with a lot of talking heads. It really didn't have a lot of action up in it. It told a good noir story up to a certain point. To a certain point, it told a great noir story, but it gets muddled and mixed in with all of this extra babble that doesn't necessarily need to be in it, just to get you into the day and age of where that story is set. And that's a problem. That book I would not recommend for a younger reader to read because it's not a fun read. It is a very difficult read. And if they're not into like the old school detective type stories, it's wasted. I mean, it's just one of those things that when you look at the audience that you're trying to reach or a demographic that you're trying to reach, you have to meet them where they're at. And something like that is definitely not, being overly wordy, being a lot of talking head. I mean, just pages upon pages of just conversation that could have been just eliminated out of it. It's just one of those things that can turn people off to a franchise. Now, mind you, that's an older book. I know that as a whole here, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it is something that is happening now. One book that I actually like that I would recommend for younger readers here, if I could pull it out here, there he is. Something like this, I can see people nowadays, the younger crowd getting into this. Because what they did is that they turned something that is, has been something that's generational into almost like a great manga-like story. And I will put, I'll put this book to the test for a younger audience than a Superman book or a Spider-Man book of the same generation. Those books to me does not have the same punch. And when I say punch, I talk about it hits that button that says, oh wow, this is nice, this is a good, it's like I like what's being said, I like what's going on, I like how it's flowing, as opposed to what is going on to a modern X-Men or a modern Spider-Man or a modern Wonder Woman book. I mean, granted, writers nowadays don't write in the same aspect, in the same way like they did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. That's going to be a given. But when I read something like this, I want to have fun. I want to at least escape, to have some fun. Some fun, and being able to enjoy the characters the way that the characters need to be enjoyed here. And that's one of the reasons why I put something like that, I Like Popeye, up on that upper echelon as far as getting other people into it, as opposed to, like Tom King Wonder Woman. For those that like it, I give you props. I don't talk ill about that title like most other people would, mainly because I also saw the after effect. And the after effect was it brought more people reading the Wonder Woman book because they're Tom King fans. My hard problem with that is that getting those Tom King fans to read the older Wonder Woman stuff to make sense of what's going on now, to get them to understand what the true lore is about, more so than anything else. And I think that is truly lost, especially going into 2025. That aspect is truly lost. And it's kind of hard, being a part of a fandom that doesn't want to go back and read books as a whole here, to rediscover the source of where things come from. And that's kind of like one of my major gripes about some of the more modern stuff when they relaunch things here. But that was just one thing here. Getting to item number 6. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like I said, I might end up getting canceled today. Item number 6. If we as collectors, readers, and fans don't change our ways, the fandom is going to splinter even further. And I know you have that face, and it's like you saw how I'm up here, like made that scrunchy face, like what in the world are you talking about? The fandom is going to splinter even more, because we're getting to the point where we're letting our own personal feelings dictate what somebody else should and should not get, instead of being like, hey, I like Wonder Woman, you like Wonder Woman, you like Tom King stuff, I don't, but I'm glad that you're reading Tom King's Wonder Woman, because we have something that we could talk about, and something that we could share and swap information, and be happy that we're talking about Wonder Woman, instead of hate. Oh, I can't stand this. Why can't they do this, that, and the other? Blah 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 blah. Why can't they just change the writers and give us this, and this? For one, there are people that still buying it religiously and loving it. So it's not meant for a person like me to stop somebody who loves something to get what they love. That's not my part of fandom. I shouldn't be doing that. That tells me that you're not a fan at that point. You're being very selfish at that point. But at the same time, You should always turn people onto stuff and not off to it. And I know I already saw the comments just starting in already. It's like McPhee is spitting out straight facts. Exactly. Yep. I would never say that again. Go buy X, write or run on X. Yeah, that's what you like. If you love it and you like it, buy it. But don't force anybody else to buy it. I shouldn't have to buy anything that I don't like. The other thing that I want people to understand here is that you don't have a valid opinion on anything until you buy into it. So as much as I talk about Tom King's Wonder Woman, I buy it. I read it. I can have my opinion and give you an educated opinion based upon what I read. Now, do I have bias? Yes. But that bias is minimized because I know for a fact I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from buying it. I'm just going to say, hey, this is what I don't like about it. You may love it. I don't. But if you love it, buy some more of it. I have always been that type of a collector. What will splinter this fandom even more is the ones that don't buy anything, that has that automatic opinion that, oh, this sucks and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. It's like, but did you read it? Did you buy any issues of it? If you haven't, you're not a customer. Your opinion is invalid. Well, I'm a potential customer. You're not a customer. You didn't buy it. Your opinion doesn't matter. When it comes to the bigger publishers, when it comes to those panels at these shows, and you're a buying customer, they're going to listen to you. If you have not bought anything and you just a keyboard warrior on Twitter or X or Facebook and everything, they're going to say, screw you. We don't have to listen to you because you're not buying it. Now, if you just even if you bought one issue and you didn't like it, you have an opinion. You have a valid opinion that they have to listen to. That's the real power of having a voice in the matter. If you're not reading, and it's like, and the thing of it, if the thing about it is like, if you're not reading, if you're not buying, your opinion means nothing. I mean, that's the bigger standpoint of all of this here. It's like everybody has their own opinion, but the customer's opinion matters more than somebody that's just random out of the blue that just wanted to hate on something just to hate on something. That's the real thing that splinters this fandom so much, that because I don't like it, I got to make everybody else not like it. It's like, no. If you don't like it, you have options. You don't have to buy anymore. And you can move on to something else. You do not have the right and privilege and entitlement to go out here to besmirch the name of whatever you bought to the effect that you're stopping somebody else from getting something that they like. That's not a good look. It will come back to bite you. And when I say come back to bite you, it's because of karma. If you besmirching somebody else's like, don't be surprised if somebody comes back to you on something that you do love, and they do the exact same thing. It's always a two-way street with this. It's not always one way. So I see it. You see, it's like right now, I could not care less about Absolute Batman, or as I call it, Absolute Spider-Man, because that's pretty much what they did. Bruce Wayne, they made him kind of like a Peter Parker in his own universe. So I don't buy it. But again, you're not going out there talking about don't buy Absolute Batman, it's garbage and this, that, and the other. You just simply be like, okay, I know a little bit about it. I read some of it. Not my cup of tea, and you moved on. I have every issue of the Fantastic Four. In my opinion of Fantastic Four, the way that she spelled it, because that is one of the volumes of Fantastic Four, the way that they spelled it, has more weight than some of the Dubros that only saw the movie through pirating. Yep. And again, seeing pirate copies does not make you a customer. that's another thing. I don't like it because they reshot half of it, ruining the director's intent. See, that's a valid opinion based upon you going and paying your hard-earned money to go and see that. And because you follow the behind the scenes, it makes it a palatable argument or palatable point to discuss. You're not up here trying to badmouth it or defame it based upon feeling. That's the key thing. The reason why we don't want to do that. We don't want to do stuff like that because it will fracture the fandom of it. And again, it's like I have told you several times here, Parallax, one of the reasons why I'm not a big Star Wars fan is because of how a lot of Star Wars fans feel about certain things. And just because I haven't read this novel or watched that particular episode or followed this particular series does not make me less than a lesser than Star Wars fan. I like what I like, and it just is what it is. You can't force me into a mode or method to like things the way that you do. That's just wrong. Yeah, the Alkalite still sucks, though, just like Star Trek Discovery. I still have to watch Discovery. I have not watched Discovery yet. And like I said, I have no interest in watching the Alkalite. As much as we talk about Star Wars stuff on Comic Book Spectrum, and if you ever watch Comic Book Spectrum, you notice that I don't really talk too much about Star Wars all that much. There's certain series I will watch of Star Wars, and there's other series I just don't touch. The Alkalite is one that I wouldn't touch here. That's one I just like. It just has no interest in me. Just like the Mandalorian didn't really have any interest in interest. But I did watch Ahsoka because why? I was a big fan of Rebels, and a lot of the stuff that happened in Ahsoka was a jumping off point towards the end of Rebels. So it fit what I wanted to watch more so than anything else. But it doesn't make me less of a fan because I didn't watch the Alkalite. And if I did watch the Alkalite and liked it, it still doesn't make me that less of a fan. It's just, it is what it is. Nope. I'm just like that book with the tank soon. It's like there's more people in the count of this is lame with me than the ones buying the 1 in 200 variant. But again, it's just, it's just, it is what it is. It's like they put it out there. You don't have to be a fan of it, but because it's Star Wars in general, you have a talking point. And that's the key thing. It's like sharing your love and being able to talk about it and express what you like and dislike in a setting where it's not confrontational. Yeah, I would totally watch his original cut of it whenever they release it. Yeah. Yeah, like they released the Donner cut. And you could tell what was reshot in Fantastic Four, Kate Morrow, terrible blonde wig. Yeah. Yeah, and I hated the Alkalite, ergo I would not buy Alkalite stuff or get the Blu-rays. It makes sense. It makes sense. That's the whole thing here. It's like, but if you release a 3D's Empire Strike Back, you best believe my fat behind would be there to get a copy. I don't know. Empire Strikes Back was one of those movies that was it was slow. It was slow, but it has so much important stuff that happened. And that I don't know, but, it's Empire Strikes Back is a great movie, but it was just so slow in the beginning that it's just like I don't know. I just don't know what to make of it. Yeah. Are some of those covers good? Yes, but it is not rare or scarce or important. It won't climb in value. That's the reason why I said what I said about modern, about about the modern comics and getting them slab. It's like you're wasting money at that time unless you're playing to keep them 30 to 40 years. The quick flip on books like that would not have a return if you missed the bubble. It missed the initial bubble for it. There might be bubbles later on down the line, but those are several years out, or should I say, several decades out. And that's part of the problem here. And yeah, you love the Donner cut. But if you like the Alkali, I question your sanity. But but go hard, lol. But no, but again, if people who do like the Alkali, let's just say that Alkali is not your cup of tea, but you're not going out there trying to get them to hate it either. If they like it, they like it. As long as they're not trying to convince you to like it, you're not trying to convince them to hate it. That's pretty much a fair thing to say there. Oh, don't get me started now. Don't get me started, because now you're going to talk about A New Hope is slow. A New Hope technically started that franchise. And if you look back at it from the standpoint of eyes from 2024 as opposed to 1975 when it was introduced, you can't really say that A New Hope was slow. A New Hope had to introduce all of this stuff here to get people to like it. Where Empire Strikes Back, you had to sit through everything to figure out why they were hiding in the first place. Why was everybody on Hoth in the first place? Why was the Empire looking for this place in Hoth? All of that could have been told a lot faster. The whole thing with the Tauntaun and everything about the condition, about how frozen it was. And then when the spy droids actually found the base and everything that it took to get the Empire there to actually launch the attack. It wasn't smooth sailing. It took several minutes to get to this, to get to the base point of that cat and mouse routine of, are we hitting enough? If we're not hitting enough, do we have a contingency plan to get off a Hoth? That's a completely different slow than introductory slow from 1975, A New Hope, where you're introducing characters and everything. So no, I would definitely disagree there. I would definitely disagree with you on that aspect here. There was just so much stuff that had to be done done in episode 4 when it was first released out. Compare it to comparing episode 4 in terms of 2024. Yeah, I give you some props as far as it being slow, because I understand that it was introducing so much stuff. But when I look at it through my 1975 eyes, or when I would have seen it, would probably be like 78, 79. When I looked at it through those tested eyes, like, no, I was being introduced to characters. I was being, getting what was going on here. So yeah, it seems slow, but it really wasn't. But Empire Strikes Back was kind of slow as far as getting them to the point where the major attacks with the AT-ATs and everything happened. Oh my God, that movie was slower. It was slower going off the ice hill, carrying you. Yeah, That's for you. Oh, to me, the Alkalite just isn't a good show, a good Star Wars period. I can accept that. That's not the contention about that. The whole point that I was making about it is like not splintering the fan base based upon trying to convince them that it was not good or not bad. If they love it, let them love it. Discovery breaks. Oh, like I said, I haven't watched Discovery, but again, if Discovery breaks canon, then it's pretty much going to be like Discovery is going to be on the same level of Voyager. We only got 4 quantum torpedoes left to get out of the Delta Quadrant. And how many times did they fire quantum torpedoes? Somewhere on the aspect of 87 times after that remark was made. Yeah. Right. Okay. Good job, writers. But yeah, I understand. I understand what you saw with Discovery, but I have to watch it to understand. Oh snap! She's ready. She's ready to go. She's ready to. Oh, Muhammad Ali. Oh, you really want to fight about which one was slower? You say A New Hope was slower than Empire Strikes Back. Mm-mm-mm. Why were they on Hoth? Again, the scroll only gives you a small little snippet of why they were on Hoth in the first place. They was like, oh, they're just hiding there and this, that, and the other. It's like, well, what happened? What happened to why they're hiding on Hoth? Especially after the fact that they already destroyed the Death Star. So they already had a leg up in the first place, and now episode 5 just goes and it's like, oh, they're hiding again. Huh? They just had a major battle in a big war go into their favor. Why are they back in hiding again? And you watch from day one where they start off in Hoth to the point where it's like, okay, they're in hiding. Why are they in hiding? What they're trying to hide? You're not getting anything what they're trying to hide and all this other stuff. You're just like, oh, they're just there doing stuff on Hoth. It wasn't until we saw the Empire spy drones hit Hoth that we kind of got like a little bit of like that background, like, okay, so they're being hunted now. And I believe that actually happened maybe 20 minutes in. And we still don't understand why they were being hunted until after they, to get to the point where the AT-ATs actually attacked was close to like an hour into the movie. And they did just like a lot of stuff. Is like, well, we need all these contingency plans to get off of Hoth because we were scared that the Empire might find us. Why are you scared? What maybe and maybe because I'm just a fan of backstory. That's why I love Rogue One so much, because Rogue One explained a lot of stuff that happened in episode 4 that a lot of people would have been like you said, episode 4 is too slow. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that the two slowness are different. Episode 4 was slow because it was introducing you to the Star Wars world, Star Wars world as a whole. Empire Strikes Back was slow because they gave you no backstory. It really is just like you just there going along for the ride, and you're just like, okay, I don't understand this ride until an hour in. Context. They had 37. They had 37 in episode 1. Wow. Yep. Okay, what fleet was after them? We didn't get none of that. We got no backstory between blowing up of the Death Star to why they were on Hoth. None. Other than that snippet from the scroll that introduced episode 5. So to say that they were pissed, it's like, okay, it was a decisive battle in this, that, and the other. And by the time we get to Return of the Jedi, they was already rebuilding the Death Star. And I'm up here, it's like, oh, where did they get the funding and stuff? Where did the Empire get the funding and stuff to rebuild it in the first place? None of that was truly explained. We just went along for the ride for it. But at least Empire Strikes Back wasn't slow as far as what all the stuff that was going on. It was. It was. Yeah, it's like we still have mayors and governors and military. Again, the alliance was definitely more political by that time. And like I said, if I remember the movie correctly, it started off with them trying to come up with contingency plans of escape just in case they were found, because they had to move shipments and stuff very cautiously because they had a fear of the spy droids landing on Hoth, and they had to do it in a certain way in a certain time frame to move the ships in and out without being detected. That was like the first 10 to 15 minutes here. And then we had the whole thing with Luke and Han, which was another 10 to 15 minutes. So that's 30 minutes in. Then they detected that the spy droids actually landed in it and everything. And the coordinates and everything was sent back to the Empire. The Empire was ready to get ready to send the AT-ATs down to the planet and everything, which would put it about like 45 minutes into the movie. And about 1 hour in, you had that major battle. And that major battle ran a long time, if you remember, because they had to, it's like Luke had to go back into the base to get to his X-Wing, before he could actually go to Dagobah, if I'm correct, to go see Yoda. So it was a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff that happened in Empire Strikes Back, but the majority of stuff that happened on Hoth did take a long time to set up. And that's the only thing. I'm not saying the whole movie was slow, but that whole Hoth battle took way longer to set up than what it's supposed to. That's just me. That's just my opinion. Yeah, like the Rogue Nation could claim complete and total victory, capital down. And I wasn't trying to say that either. It's like it was a lot. It's like a lot of stuff can happen from the time that the Death Star blew up to by the time that Hoth Base was established, and the fact that they were about to get ready to kind of like decommission it. Because that was my understanding, is that Hoth was about to get decommissioned anyway, because it was too much of a hot zone trying to get in and out, to get in and on and off of the base without the Empire finding them. Yeah, they go. It's like they go to the Antarctic to hide from bombers. Yeah. Yeah, we're about to go bomb this ice. Boo! It's like, well, this place is ice cubes. Yeah, my thing is, wait, couldn't they just use the material and replicate those torpedoes? Again, why did the writers say what they said? They said that the replicators did not have the material to create those quantum torpedoes in mass production the way that they did on that ship. They said they barely had enough supply to make 4 more. That is what was said on this series for Voyager. Beyond that, it was just a train wreck from there. The writers just made that series a train wreck. The writers made that series a train wreck as a whole here. Yeah, the first Death Star took like 19 years to build, and the second was like fully functional a year and a half later. Where did the Empire get the resources? Hmm. Hmm. Now, by the time we got the first Death Star, it's like the Trade Federation slowly became the Empire, and those senators and stuff that was not a part of the Trade Federation, you know, split off and became the Rebel Alliance. So it's like, so the ones that stuck with them throughout the thick and thin, think about how much resources that they stole from them going into episode 4 to have a up and running Death Star. No, the asteroid field sequence starts 48. See, you're watching the movie. No fair. You probably sitting there with your DVD player, your Blu-ray player, going through it and be like, aha, you're wrong. It was 48 minutes. 48 minutes when they had the asteroid scene. Yeah, but that's exactly how The Last Jedi starts. Oh, the First Order found us. And that wash, rinse, repeat aspect of storytelling does not always work all the time. And that's kind of like the telltale signs of the Star Wars movie universe, if I could say it that way. Because the first 3 and the last 3, and when I say the last 3, we're talking about episodes 7 through 9, pretty much parallels 4 through 6, verbatim, verbatim for actual measured beats per story. And I agree with that. Last Jedi had that same beat. It's like, oh, the First Order found us, and now we have to do this, and this. It's like, okay, who's going to tell us about it's like we knew about the First Order, but what happened? What transpired that happened to make the First Order go after them that quickly? And it's like, well, it's like you watched the other movie. It's like, yeah, but the way that it ended, it wasn't like they knew everything. Oh, it isn't. No, it's salt. Oh yeah, watch this. Watch what? But Captain Solo hyperdrive is in. Oh, classic lies. Classic Star Trek lies. Yeah, Captain Solo, the hyperdrive is inactive. Poor Excelsior. I think we're in trouble. Yes, the Excelsior is in trouble. Oh, we can't. It's like we can't. We can't outrun them, but we can outmaneuver them. Wait, you're actually flying into the asteroid field? Yeah, that'd be crazy to follow. And they built They built speedy shuttlecrafts from Tom Paris's to Ray. Oh my goodness. She's going line by line, line by line. Oh, I just have seen it. Yes. Yes, I could tell. Yeah, that's the trouble with Star Wars. It's a bankrupt franchise. They have done so much to expand it, but the movies have to be rebels, bad guys, lightsaber, stormtrooper, beats, or people will be mad. Yeah. Yep. They will be very, very, very mad. One of the reasons why they never did Dash Rendar. Because Dash Rendar, those stories from the comic books and novels, people would not like it because it wasn't stereotypical Star Wars. One of the reasons why they didn't introduce Mara Jade, because it goes away from stereotypical Star Wars that most people love. And how the fuck the First Order is so powerful if Leia and her crew are established government of the New Republic? Oh no! See, now you're about to make me. Now you're about to make me mess up here. Because I'm thinking of the timeline of Ahsoka right now. Because when you watch Ahsoka, because I'm up here, whatever happened to Admiral Thrawn at the end at the end of Ahsoka, and how does that play into the First Order? That's something that I was thinking about. It's like, wait, Ahsoka, that would have been Ahsoka would have had to happen before episode 7. It had to, because they would have to deal with Thrawn. They would have to deal with Thrawn, and they would have to deal with the witches. Things to think about. Things to really, really think about. Voyager, to me, started off with a great premise, and then the writers failed it. The writers just like, okay, here we go. It's like, you're a science vessel, this, that, and the other. Q comes around. It's like, hey, oh, y'all Federation think y'all the stuff of this, that, and the other. Oh, really? You think you could? You think you could? You think you're better than Picard? And Picard did this. Okay, fine. Let me throw you into the Delta Quadrant. Let you deal with the stuff over there. If you're that clever, and meaning that you're a science vessel, let's have you to deal with this. Get back home. But the writers just messed it up from there. Yeah. I agree. I agree with that here. Yeah. I can see that all this stuff happening here. Why are they the resistance? Yeah. You can't be the resistance to the status quo. Exactly. And we got Scott Hall here. No. I'm not 100% certain, but let me double check here, because I'm trying to figure out what in the world you're referencing here outside of what messages that you left here. But again, if I'm not 100% certain here, as far as if you bought anything from that sale of X-Men 97. those books here. And Merry Christmas to you. Yeah, Thrawn was lost in the Delta Quadrant Voyager, and they told Thrawn's story so much better than what they did with Voyager. They didn't have to worry about quantum torpedoes. They had to worry about a Stargate, getting through a Stargate and whatnot. See, X-Men 97. Nope, that is not you. I do apologize here. I'm just doing a quick little look up here. I don't have any more of the X-Men 97. That's been several months ago during September where I had them. Because definitely, if I definitely had more of the X-Men 97 box packs and boxes, oh, I definitely would be selling them now. No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I had anything going to Australia from that standpoint here. Ahsoka does happen before episode 7, like 6 years right after Return of the Jedi, which makes sense. That's what I'm saying. It's like Star Wars need to. That timeline is so fractured that they don't want to make the movies kind of move and flow in a set pattern. Like, for example, everybody should know that Rogue One happens before Episode 4, but like the stuff for Ahsoka, I was like, I wasn't certain where it fell into the later, the ending. So it falls before Episode 7, so it's like 6 years later than Return of the Jedi. So 6 years after Episode 6 here. Voyager has been a 7-night MMA fight with The Rock. Might drop. Q does get the Voyager, 25,000 light years closer to the Alpha Quadrant in an episode, and Janeway is like, why not all the way home, Q? And he goes, that it's like that would not be that is like that wouldn't be much fun. that that yeah, Q would definitely say something like that. It's like, that wouldn't be fun. The fun is in the journey. The fun is in the journey, don't you think? Yeah, the First Order is the resistance to the New Republic. I have a hard time. It's like, you're right. That was not good writing. That would not be good writing, because that is like I said, if the First Order was the new resistance, then what was Admiral Thrawn then? Because Admiral Thrawn would have been the remainder of the Empire in that aspect here. So if they were saying that Thrawn was defeated by Episode 7 and a new faction was brought out from Thrawn's old armada, then that would kind of make it a resistance. But you have to say that Thrawn was defeated, and we don't know that. We don't know how everything ended with Thrawn as of yet. But what do I know about writing? At least writing for movies. I would not. This is what I would say on that comment here. You're not wrong, but you're not 100% right either. Out of all the people to get stuck, and all the people to send back, why Ezra? Out of all the people to send back home, the way that you did, why Ezra? That to me would be the second part about like how she messed up. It's like, why are you sending Ezra back out of all people who have not completed his training? I mean, when I say not complete, I mean like if I had Ezra and I had Ahsoka, and I could choose only one of them to go into battle with, I'll definitely not be choosing Ezra. Ezra is not as experienced. Trust me, Ezra is not as experienced. So she sent Ezra back as kind of like the warning to say Thrawn is back. I was like, ew. But it does open up the door for Ahsoka to find out what was going on in that other part of the galaxy and why that grounds was considered sacred among Jedi. So there's another mystery that she could unfold while she's still there. But yeah, that's why I say you're not wrong, but it's not right either. Because I definitely would not have sent Ezra back. By no means. Exactly. They could say that Thrawn has started the First Order, remnants from the Empire. I mean, that was the whole point of them being stuck there. Because it's like, he found the way. It was like, yeah, let me go back over here to these sacred grounds over here that nobody knows about. I'm going to build and train everybody to be ready to deal with whatever Jedi was left. I mean, he went and studied their history before the council and the Jedi Order was formed on the other side. So he went back in history to learn a lot of stuff. Grand Admiral Thrawn is a dangerous man to let out of that side of the galaxy. It just, I just don't know. I just don't know. But again, Ahsoka is kind of like a one season type deal, but there's a lot of other stuff that can happen. I mean, it sets it up for Rebels to actually be continued from that point too, and they're not going to do it. They're not going to give us that. I would love an Ahsoka season 2 dealing with that type of stuff and her trying to find a way to get back. But it is what it is. But then somehow Palpatine survived. That's bad writing. Palpatine survived because of bad writing. But then again, you read in the novels, Palpatine technically survived Return of the Jedi. According to the novels, he actually survived the shaft, being thrown over into the shaft and everything. Palpatine actually survived that. But that to me is just poor writing because you took it out of time context. If you get my drift, just to make it more palatable for the movie audience. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, say no more. Yeah, now Ahsoka and Sabine are in the Delta Quadrant. They're all alone with the Delta Quadrant with species 87453, the only species that can make the Borg run. That's where they're at. So it should be Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka versus Grand Admiral Thrawn and the rise of the new Empire First Order. That would be a tough stretch. That would be a tough stretch here, but if I had to take my guess based upon the fact that they wanted to get a younger audience, it would have been Ahsoka and Kylo Ren versus Grand Admiral Thrawn. All because of the simple fact that Kylo doesn't like both either side because of history. That was the one thing that I think that they got right about Kylo Ren, about his training. When Luke tried to kill him, it shattered all trust about, light and dark side. That he doesn't trust either one, because if you're supposed to be of the light side of the Force and you're training me, why would you try to kill me? And then with the dark side, it's like, why are you trying to beat me into submission if I'm willingly chasing after my grandfather? Which means that now you have a wielder of the Force that don't trust either side of the Force. So that would have made it more interesting story with Kylo and Ahsoka taking on Grand Admiral Thrawn, with Kylo being the wild card, because he would probably be able to figure out what Thrawn was really after in that aspect here. Because Ahsoka would figure out by episode 2 of the next how to get back instantly. Ahsoka would have find out a way how to create a clock on that planet and be like, oh, we got time now. Huh. How many days? It's like, so now since I have this clock here, I can figure out how many days we've been here. Oh, guess what? Those wells that we came over on the first time around, we can hitch a ride back because they're about to migrate back to the other side of the galaxy. It's all written out here at map of how their migration schedule are. It's like, how would you know that? You haven't been there no more than maybe a couple of months. You don't know their migration patterns like that. Nobody told you that information because of Jar Jar Abrams. By shifting the consciousness in the clones here, they should have been Matt Smith as Emperor Palpatine. Clone, damn it. That could have made sense, but it doesn't. Because if that was the case here, a lot of their original clones, such as Rex would have never died. Clones like him would have never died because they had multiple versions of him with that type of knowledge. Oh no, Dr. Reynolds family. Come here, Katie. It's time for you to deal with the family. I don't care if you have that British aspect. It's time for you to deal with American muscle. Right, sucker, you got no family. She would start having those visions again of Anakin before he turned to the dark side, talking about Snips. Remember what I told you about war. Oh boy. I got so far off topic here. It's just ridiculous here. I like how we write better shit in our own crazy Saturday chat than actual writers. And it actually could make sense as far as parody is concerned. It makes sense parody wise. Yeah, but he could only come in later as a student with Luke. Yeah. Yeah, she would just be going to use the world, between world to world to world just to show up at Luke's house and say, "Hey, so." Oh my goodness. You want to know what just popped into my head? What popped into my head, if all this happened before episode 7 and before episode 8, just imagine Ahsoka popping up in like a forced vision over there at Luke's house and saying, "Hey, what's up? Oh, who's this boring Jedi chick here? Nobody wants to see her in a movie." It would have been so funny if Ahsoka did that in continuity. There's like, force projection talking to Luke. It's like, oh, I just came over here to say what's up. We're still stuck over here. This, that, the other. Was just wondering if there was anything, in the old script and lore about how we could get back, safer. This, that, and the other. And then she turns around. It's like, who's this? Who's this boring person? Nobody wants to see her fight. Oh man, that would just be so hilarious. Going to be between worlds, between Luke's. Then it was going to be a big thing between her and Rey. It's like Ahsoka does not like Rey at all. It's like she's boring. She's just so boring. And they handing her the keys to the kingdom just like they did to your father. And your father, yeah, he has talent. This boring one right here, she ain't nothing. I could take her down 2 swings. It's like you haven't seen Rise episode 9, so I won't spoil. Yeah, yeah. It's like, no, you just being a racist. That's the one thing that people keep forgetting. You don't want Ahsoka mad at you. That's out of all the Jedi's. It's like there's only a few Jedi's that you don't want angry, like really angry at you. You don't want Yoda really angry at you. You don't want Anakin before you turn to do the dark side, and you don't want Ahsoka. And when I talk about you don't want Ahsoka mad at you, I talk about Ahsoka during Rebels after the death of Anakin. Her being mad at you, it's just like, yeah, you just set yourself up for a long bit of torture. Because it's not going to be like something as simple as like she gets you and finish you. It's just like, nope. We got it's like I got you for 30 years of playtime to ruin your life. Yeah, just want to point out that I love Tom Baker as Bendu. Yeah. The one in the middle. Yeah. But that stuff is hilarious. That stuff would be hilarious. It's like Ahsoka being mad at you. It's like, yeah, she'll find a way to torture you for the rest of your life. It's not pretty. But that's one of the reasons why I love the TV the one season, because they went back about her history. And Ahsoka's history is sad because she was a child general. If you really looked at it in that aspect, she was a child general at the age of what, 8 years old, being trained by Anakin. and on the field of battle, not learning from a distance. She was there with the clones, battling, fighting. She did not have a normal childhood. She was a soldier through and through from the sweet little old age of 8. That's not normal. Yeah, I guess I was like, I'm not going to front. I saw Ben though. I was like, oh, I was like, cool. And then he spoke. I was like, I lost my shit. Like we saw the crypto. And she's over here. Take care. It's like take care of Stinky. Crypto is hilarious, yeah. But we got a few more things here that we need to cover. But that was a fun side diversion here. Controversial thoughts here, more so than anything else. When it comes to when it comes to a lot of the stuff, we definitely need to start writing better stories when it comes to comics. But the quality has gone down dramatically, and I think we're writing more so about how we feel as opposed to letting the characters illustrate a good story and let the readers feel on their own. I as a writer should not dictate to you how you should feel about situations here. I just need to write and tell a story and let you feel what you feel. Now, whether it is my intent or not is a different story. It's a different level. Like I said, if you to quote the great and mighty Shrek, it's like storytelling is like an onion. We all have layers to it. The reason why I write something the way that I wrote it is to make you the reader appreciate the story in a certain way. Now, whether it's my intent to make you feel happy, sad, angry is one thing, but I should not tell you read the story to be angry. I should be able to write a story that after you see the situation, after you start investing in the characters and everything to that magnitude, it should make you angry that they were in that situation and the outcome of that situation. That's how I know that you're hooked to the story, as opposed to me telling you about the situation and getting you all riled up for the wrong reasons. The whole point is relating to characters. And that's the other thing. We need to not typecast our characters in stories anymore. And when I say typecast characters is more along the lines of what I consider the downtown test that I put to a lot of writers. And what the downtown test is like when you write something and you start developing your characters. I want you to think about downtown of your hometown. Think about the type of people that you see there. And that will give you a more realistic view of nationalities, culture, all the other stuff that should be in the story. Because, unless you're like in, and like I said, I'm part of the Midwest, but if you're more West Midwest, where it's few and far between, where you're not seeing a lot of different nationalities, it makes sense that your story has a makeup of what it is. But in 2025, if you live in a major city, it's kind of hard to believe that you can't that your story is made up of only one nationality anymore. Now, that's just me as a writer. That's the way that I think. I always think in terms of, I don't write nationalities, but I write for the situations that they're in. And I always apply that downtown test because I want people to relate to characters. I don't go out and set out as like with, let's use Elisa, for example. And I have said that in many different panels, that I did not set out for Elisa to be a half Brazilian, half African American. Originally, I did not set it out for that to be, but it kind of worked out that way because I didn't want her mother, her mother to be a dark skinned Brazilian per se, because I wanted to address some of the things about colorism that was primarily from that neck of the woods here. But that's further on down the story here. Not going to hit you over the head with it, but it will come into play a little bit later. But it made sense not to pigeonhole her mom or her to one nationality per se. Could Elisa have been a blonde, aka American country type character? Yes, she could have been that way. Just like with the original character that I originally had slated to be Amazonia, which was Felicia Knight, who will eventually come later on in the third story arc here. Her character is technically not African American either, but she will have that nationality per se, because the original make of her is that she doesn't really have one anymore. And no, that's going back into getting to like her origin and whatnot, but we'll get that far into what she really is and the makeup of it later on when we get to the third story arc here, because we talked a little bit about it in this story arc dealing with Wilma Bagsley, or I should say Dr. Wilma Bagsley. It was mentioned, but you're going to eventually meet the character that was talked about there. But it is what it is. Yeah. See, not all doom and gloom here. Yeah, it's not always doom and gloom. And I never talk doom and gloom, but I just know how people feel when they up there like, oh, it's just really, really bad. It's like, but that's your opinion that it's bad. If somebody else loves it, let them like it. You don't have to be like, oh, they're not a real fan, this, that, and the other. It's like, who's to say that you are? I could poke holes into, why you like something too, but it is what it is. A perfect example. You don't like all sports ball teams here, but you love the Mets. I'm not a big fan of the Mets, but I appreciate your love for the Mets. Why? Because you kind of appreciate my love for the Chicago White Sox, that we both hate the Yankees because of it. So it is what it is. So it is what it is. But it just works out that way. Oh, is that why the new Star Wars stinks? The new I don't know. I don't think the new Star Wars thing is just more along the lines that what's coming out for Star Wars now is not written for older people. It's not written for the older fans at all. It's not written for older fans, period. Yeah, because it's like onion. Yep. It's layers. It's layers upon layers upon layers here. And I think that's what's really missing in comic books now, is that we became so reliant on formulaic storytelling that we're not creating anything new anymore. We're not experimenting with characters like we're supposed to. We're more afraid of doing stuff outside the box because there's only a certain ilk that will buy comics. And I challenge that. And the reason I still challenge it because I would not have success with Primetime Saturday Night if I didn't listen to those that bought AWF that complained about lack of pro wrestling in it. I did believe I had a good book in Primetime Saturday Night because, for one, I have never truly written anything if I could say, booking wise, as far as pro wrestling is concerned. I have never done anything like that before. I just mimic a lot of the stuff that I see on television as far as the presentation is concerned. And it worked out. It worked out to the point where people was asking for more. And I'm one of the few people here that has a wrestling title that does that on an issue per issue basis. Each issue is a actual full card of TV pro wrestling in primetime Saturday night. So it's kind of like, when you start thinking truly outside the box in that aspect and really delving in and building the storylines around the actual fight. People don't understand that there's a it's not just a simple, this person hits here and that person hits you there. It's like, no, there's a actual, when it comes to pro wrestling, there's an actual dynamic of doing the fight itself to tell a story. And that's a whole nother level of understanding that, I watch documentation, documentaries, and follow, people's autobiographies and all this other stuff, talking about the actual process of what we get to see on television, to understand how to try to write something like that. That's probably one of the reasons why it's been taking me so long to do issue 5, because now I'm introducing a tag team tournament, and I got tag teams that some fit very well together and others are just makeshift, and trying to make the makeshift ones come off as a fully functioning team, take some time. And that just, it's not something that you just instantly pop up and write right away here. So, like I said, the controversial statement that I'm making with all of that here is that we need to start thinking more outside the box and write better stories as a whole. And you have to understand that not everybody going to like the genre that you're writing in. And people know I'm not a big horror fan, but right now horror is one of the biggest draws that happen in comics. It's like people are buying a lot of older horror books now, and now there's been more of a making by bigger publishers of more horror books. The other thing that I could tell you right now is that if you really want to make a big splash quick, fast, in a hurry in this industry, write yourself either a good slice of life book or a very good, if trying to figure out the way to say it, a book that could be termed as a thriller. Not necessarily noir, not necessarily detective, not necessarily capes and types, but something that is considered a thriller that has you on the edge of your seat, thinking that at any given turn, stuff can hit the fan and things could go south real quick, fast, in a hurry. Those would be the two types of books that I say if you want to come in and make an immediate splash that people could relate to right away, those two things I would say write. If you could write a good slice of life story, that will work, or you can make a good thriller, that will work as well. Like I said before, writing pro wrestling not easy. Even writing Amazonia is not as easy because it's not really capes and tights. It's more of like cop drama / slice of life type stuff, and it's a good balance between those two things here. But while doing those things, I have to also make certain that I'm telling a decent story to make you invested in characters. And a good thing about it is that if you can make people invest in your supporting characters, you're doing a great thing. When they like your main characters, but they're really invested as far as your supporting characters are concerned, and getting into the lives of why this supporting character matters, you're doing something special. And on that note, we're going to end the stream here because why? We're at the 2-hour mark here. And besides, We got people on the East Coast that want to at least enjoy their Sunday here because it's they're an hour ahead of us here, and it's almost 11 o'clock. So before I go, yes, I will be on New Year's Eve. I will be doing, and it's not always often that I do New Year's Eve streams here, but I'm going to do another New Year Eve gaming stream here on this upcoming 31st. And we're going to start sometime about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, which would probably be like 11 o'clock Eastern. And we're going to be streaming video games and everything. I'm going to be playing video games here. So I'm not certain if I'm going to use StreamYard or if I'm going to go back over to using the XSplit broadcaster. But we're going to be playing some video games off of the laptop again and just enjoying the company and talking about comic books, playing from video games where you guys could talk crap about how badly I'm playing and all this other stuff here. I'm not certain what we're going to end up playing. I'm already going to, try to see if I could progress more in Cuphead. I have already beaten River City Girls 1. I'm not certain if I'm going to get River City Girls 2 by that time or anything to that magnitude. And then I'm not going to attempt to play this 3-on-3 freestyle game that I got on here because sports ball games is not everybody's jam here. But we're going to be doing that, and we'll be back on next Saturday here. We're probably going to have another from the desk, another new comic books up for the week here, and we're going to have pretty much our goals talk about our goals for 2025 here. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode here. Hopefully I didn't say too much here that would spark conversations to have people talk about, hey, let's cancel Joe because he says X, Y, and Z about certain things here. I try to keep things positive, try to keep things light, and like I said, I don't dog people out for what they like. So if you love what you love, continue loving it, despite the fact that other people may not like it. If you like Wonder Woman, keep buying Wonder Woman stuff. If you like Spider-Man, keep buying Spider-Man stuff. If you like Batman, sucks to be you because I don't care too much for Bruce, but we could talk about Thomas Wayne all day long. But there's always going to be some common ground, one way or the other, that always bring the fandom together. It's just our job to keep it from splintering into little bitty factions and hate groups that don't really represent the bigger whole of everything here. So on that note, live life, grow, and be well. Oh, we got a couple of more statements here. Let's go ahead and cover that here. It's like, you better have a video game stream for New Year's. Or so I could be mad at you again. Oh, really? It's like, except Wonder Woman 84 is a bad movie. No arguments there. No arguments there. And I ain't going to go there, but that's no area. And yeah, Thomas Wayne is the real Batman. I love Flashpoint Batman. And it's just the difference. It's just a night and day difference here, just the way that it's set up here. But I know that everybody doesn't like Thomas Wayne. But Flashpoint Batman to me is what I would consider what Batman really would have been if Thomas Wayne would have been alive. And how life would have been if him and Bruce were father and son. If Thomas was able to survive. But it is what it is. But as I said, live life, grow, and be well. I will see you on Tuesday evening and then back again on Saturday. So have a good rest of your Sunday if you're on the East Coast, the rest of your Saturday if you're in the Central and Pacific time zone. And we are out of here. Later.